Welcome to Rose Red Homestead. We weren't planning on doing a video today, but my goodness sakes, strawberries are on sale everywhere. And so Jim and I found some of these strawberries for a really great price. I mean, look at the size of these strawberries. We're going to show how to dehydrate strawberries. You could do a whole lot of things with these strawberries, including making strawberry jam. We're just not that fond of strawberry jam, so we prefer to dehydrate them. In order to dehydrate strawberries, there is not one single recipe that you can follow and get great results every single time. It depends on the strawberries themselves. And so we'll get right to how to make those decisions in just a moment when we come back. Jim into coming on camera with us so that we can show you how we often work together on doing things like this. So I have our little assembly line set up here. So here is a colander full of strawberries that I have already rinsed. I am going to be slicing them, cutting them right here. I'm putting the hulls in this dish here. We're going to give them to the chickens or put them in the compost pile because we don't like to waste anything. So I'm just going to cut the tops off and put them in this bowl. And then today we picked up this little egg cutter. It's an egg slicer. I'm sure some of you are very familiar with this. And this is what we are going to use to slice the strawberries. So then he's going to slice the strawberries and put them in here, this bowl. And then once we get a bowl full, then we will decide what it is that we're going to do with the strawberries, whether to sweeten them or not. Now we have two other things going on simultaneously. I'm baking 4 loaves of Polish artisan bread. They're right over here, and I'm in the period of time where I'm going to need to take a break and fold those when my timer goes off. We've planted new grass, and that's Jim's project. If his timer goes off, he's got to go adjust the water. So we may come and go a little bit while we're doing this. So Jim, come on in, and we're going to get started here. Now, the thing about these strawberries is that these are huge. And as you know, in today's market, strawberries are grown for color and for size and not for taste. And so very often these gorgeous looking strawberries aren't as sweet as we would like for them to be. And so even when we eat them fresh, we will be adding a little bit of sweetener to them so that they don't taste so sour. How's that working? Not well? Oh, it mashes them just a little bit. Let's take a look. But you know what? They're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah.
It's just the cutting.
Okay. So we're going to continue using the egg cutter. And I am leaving as much on the strawberries as I can. A lot of people go deep into strawberries and cut that hull out. But it's tasty, so we don't. Sometimes the tops are a little bit white like this one. And so I will cut down to where it is good ripened part of the strawberries. So we're just going to do this for a little bit, and then we're going to go off camera and finish a lot of the rest and bring you back at decision time when we decide whether to sugar or lemon juice or whatever. Oh, I think those are working great.
You're not the one who sliced it.
Oh, there's my buzzer. I have to go fix the bread. So this is probably a good time for us to go off camera, and then we'll come back when a lot of this is done. Okay, we are back, and we have finished one of those cartons of strawberries. Now, I'm avoiding this sun. We have 2 skylights here, and this time of the afternoon, the sun comes right down on this countertop, and it messes with our lighting. And so if I put the strawberries over here, they look funny. So I'm over here kind of in the shade. I hope that you can see everything okay. Now we finished slicing up one of those boxes of strawberries, and I just love the results from that egg slicer. Jim said it was a little bit touchy to kind of operate. The strawberries were large and they are very firm, but that's kind of what you want when you are dehydrating strawberries. Now we have tasted these strawberries, and every once in a while there's one that is really nice and sweet. Now we have grown our own strawberries here, and oh, they are sweet and wonderful but small. And so if I were doing our homegrown strawberries that were very sweet, I would not even bother with sugar, because as we dehydrate something, it concentrates that taste, and so that they would just get sweeter and sweeter. But these are a little bit tart, and so I've decided I needed to add some sugar to this. And this is a decision that you will need to make when you dehydrate strawberries as well. Do you want the concentrated taste of the way they taste right now when they're fresh? If so, don't add anything. Now the only reason to add lemon juice, which would also add some tartness, is to prevent discoloration. My opinion on that is, and everyone judges for themselves of course, is that there's hardly any discoloration, so it doesn't bother me. I don't put lemon juice on strawberries because that increases the tartness. But if you have ever added sugar to strawberries and walked away and stirred it, when you come back you know that it has created its own juice, it's created its own syrup. And that is because sugar draws the moisture out of, well, strawberries, but a lot of things. But it will draw the moisture out, and that's not how we want to get rid of the moisture when we dehydrate. We want the heat to drive the moisture out. We don't want the sugar to pull the moisture out. And so for that reason, I have chosen to use this raw sugar. It is it's very much more, it's in little teeny tiny squares, but they're much larger than just the regular granulated sugar is. And so these will not form the syrup as much, and we don't want to soak the strawberries in this sugar. We want to lightly coat them, and then we want to put them immediately on the trays and set them over in the dehydrator. So I'm going to be anxious to see how many trays one of those boxes does. So we've only done one box, and we'll see how far we get. But right now I'm just going to sprinkle some of this raw sugar, these little tiny chunks all over the strawberries. And then I'm just going to lightly toss with my hands until I love the uniformity of these slices. That's what that egg slicer did. And of course it was a great time saver. Okay, I can already feel the juice being pulled out of these strawberries. So we're going to hurry and get these on the trays and get them over there. Now when you put them on the trays, you want to spread them out so that there are air spaces between, and it will take these probably about 10 hours to completely dehydrate, and we like ours so that they're not leathery. We like them kind of crunchy. So that's what we strive for when we do strawberries. So these are now coated with that chunky sugar. I'm going to rinse my hands. And I'm going to bring the trays over. This is where our other package of strawberries was put right on these trays. Now, notice on my trays, if you can see in this darn sunlight here, that I do not have the inner liners on, because these strawberries don't need that, and it will help them dry more quickly if we don't have those inner liners on. So I just pile them on, and then I just arrange them hopefully so that there is a little bit of airspace in between. I'm not going to do that second batch of strawberries if this one box fills my whole dehydrator. I'll wait and do those. This is Memorial Day weekend, and it's so lovely to think that we have a day off coming up here. But we have had such wet and cool May. Usually we're in the high 80s, pushing 90 by this time of year. Usually Memorial weekend is often very sunny and wonderful, and people drive by our house with all of their toys in tow, headed out to Lake Powell. So it's usually that kind of a weekend. It's not this weekend. And so strawberry season kind of snuck up on me this time. I wasn't expecting that, and everything, strawberries hit the stores all at the same time. And so we couldn't not do some strawberries. Got a little too much on this one. This may fill my dehydrator. Honey, could you please hand me the rest of those trays?
Did you put the inserts in?
No, I'm not going to put the inserts in. Go ahead and hand me the whole stack, please. Thank you. Okay, so this is tray 3 of 6. Jim was out of the room when I told you why we didn't put the inserts in. These should dry quicker without those inserts. And we don't need them. We don't have any little tiny pieces that will fall through. So we're going to get at least 5 trays and probably part of a 6th, which means we won't be doing that second tray for probably until Monday. This is Saturday. It has really been a glorious May. The temperature has been beautiful. It hasn't been so hot. June is our hot month. We get ready for temperatures over 100 degrees in June. Well, I think this is just going to be about a perfect fit for 6 trays. Now we'll put these in the dehydrator and set the temperature at about 135. So we caught these before it made too much syrup. There's not syrup in the bottle. As you can probably tell, well, I don't know, that sunlight is probably messing things up. But I'll get Jim in just a second to do a close-up on one of these trays in the shade so we can see I get a better idea of, they're quite juicy now because that sugar is pulling some of the moisture out of the cells. Honey, could we please get a close-up of one of these trays? I'll move it over here. And you can see that they're pretty juicy. So I'm going to go put these in at 135, and then we will be back probably in the morning, maybe late this evening if they finish early. And we will see what we have created. So we'll see you soon. Good morning, and we have 6 trays of dehydrated strawberries. It took a little bit longer than I had predicted. Not 10 hours, it took about 15, 16 hours. And last night, before we went to bed, I took out every tray and I loosened the strawberries, pulled them loose. That little bit of sugar made them really stick to the racks. So, but they are lovely now, and they are bendy, a little bit leathery, but no sign of any soft spots, squishy spots. And this is exactly how we want. They are not crunchy the way I had hoped that they would be, but then I remembered that the crunchy strawberries that I had tasted were freeze-dried and not dehydrated. These dehydrated strawberries are more leathery. And as you can see, the color did not change all that much. You would not want to rehydrate these strawberries. They look very unappetizing to do so. Just eating them this way is really wonderful. And so I'm going to start putting them right here in these jars. And we'll see, oh, some of these are still stuck a little bit. We'll just see how many jars that this will fill up. So that was a full 4 pounds of strawberries that we were able to get on these 6 racks. These racks are now pretty gunked up with dehydrated sticky stuff. So I'm going to be putting them over in the sink so that they will have to soak for half a day to get all of that stuff off. So gathering these together and putting them in this jar. These jars are the ones that spaghetti sauce came in. Our brand of spaghetti sauce for a while packed their sauce in mason jars, which was just wonderful. They don't do that anymore, darn it. But these are 24-ounce jars. And I'm not sure if we'll need more than what I have out here. We've done 2, and a few of these are still stuck. I may have missed some last night, or they could have restuck overnight too. Looks like we might get 2 full jars. Now these of course should be used within about a year, but it is so nice to have enough on our emergency supply shelves, our food storage shelves, so that we can get through an entire year with what we have stored. And then when strawberry season comes on again and everything goes on sale. So this is the first jar. We could probably pack those down a little bit, but in fact, I did. So we can maybe get those others in a pint jar instead of one of those 24-ounce jars. But it would be very nice to have some dehydrated strawberries just on your emergency preparedness shelf, just in case we have to live long-term on what we have stored. This would be a very nice addition to our food. So pretty loosely packed. Here's 24 ounces. So I'll set that over here and we'll start on this one. Funnel. One of the things that we really enjoy about having dehydrated strawberries and dehydrated bananas and apples is that they are so perfect to take on a road trip. And we're going to be going on a road trip to Washington State here in about 4 weeks to see my daughter. That's when we're going to bring back the Walla Walla onions, and then we'll show you how to dehydrate those and how to put together dried onion soup mix to have on your shelves too. So that video will be forthcoming. But bananas, dehydrated bananas, my goodness, they're so easy. All you have to do is just slice them. We love this dehydrated food for taking on road trips. So it looks like, rather than this 24-ounce jar, that this last bit is going to fit in a pint jar. So I have a clean pint jar now. I'm going to transfer these right into this pint jar. Okay, so loosely packed, one 24-ounce jar, one pint jar. Now, one of the things that is recommended about dehydrating fruit, and while I talk, I'm just going to vacuum seal these. You've seen me do this before. So I'm just putting the lid on the top. Clean lid, it's a reused lid. This one is an old jelly lid, and it's washed and clean, and I'm just now going to use it for this. But one thing that is recommended for fruit is that you let the fruit sit in this vacuum sealed jar for a week, and you don't store it away until after you have observed it for a week. And the reason for that being that it redistributes the moisture evenly throughout all of the fruit. But if there is too much moisture, there's going to be some sweating, some condensation on the inside of the jar. And if that occurs, then you need to open it up, put the fruit back in the dehydrator, and process it again for probably an hour or 2 hours just to make sure that the correct amount of moisture has been driven from the fruit. So I will be doing that exact thing before we put them out on the shelf. I'm also out of bananas, so between now and our road trip, I'm going to be doing bananas as well. And boy, nothing is easier than bananas. I keep saying that on a lot of things, but really, so much of what we do in canning is pretty easy. And you always want to listen for that little as you pull the hose off, and that ensures that it has been vacuumed appropriately. Okay. Put the band on this one too. And I will relabel these. It's important to put dates on your products so that you know how old things are. And so these are really pretty, and they're finished. And it was not bad at all. So we have another box that we're going to do, so we'll probably double this amount and have this much ready, and we'll continue watching for sales to see if perhaps we can get some more strawberries done. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.